For those of you guys that are new to this and you read comments like that, that's got to be the craziest thing. That people actually believe that. All right, everybody, in this episode of Coffee with Chad, we're going to get into flat earth responses. Here we go. I am Chad Taylor, author of the book, Where Are We? Earth According to the Bible. And this is Coffee with Chad, episode 12, Flat Earth Responses. I've been doing this for 3.5 years now or so. I tend to get a lot of the same questions and the same comments and the same criticisms and the same, how could you believe such a thing? And so I want to get into that right now. So I'm responding to this video right here. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, the Owen, Benjamin, and Flat Earth video I just did a few days ago. So let's go through the comments here and just get going. So moon landings were faked. NASA is stealing your tax dollars. Bunch of replies to that. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Absolutely. And they're stealing it and doing what with it? They are stealing it and using it to, well, they're not stealing it. We're willingly giving it to them. And then all they're doing is spending that money on deceit and deceiving us. All the NASA trickery. Owen is a comedian. So, okay, so people are commenting because in my video, I didn't know who Owen was when I recorded this. All I saw was on the Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole channel, I saw a guy that was very genuine that was questioning his beliefs, and he believed the Earth was a globe still, but he was just questioning a lot of parts about it that don't make sense, and he was acknowledging that they don't make sense. So I put a video on, about this guy that was questioning these things, and I thought it was so great that you could see his genuine responses, and people were like, how could you not know who he is? I don't know who everybody is out there. I've never heard of this guy before. Well, why don't you do some research on the guy? I've been doing this for a long time, and it's very rare to see the genuine progression through this process, because I know tons of people that have gone through this. They've just done it in private. I went through this process in private. I didn't record myself going through the, hey, I'm questioning the globe, and it just doesn't make sense. How can this big conspiracy be like this? And I never recorded myself doing that. So it's great to actually have a recording of somebody going through this process of walking themselves through and being vulnerable enough to record it. So it's extremely rare to see this. And how could you not do more research on the guy? I don't care if he was some janitor, or if he was some homeless guy, or if he's whatever. There's a genuine person going through the process of questioning. I don't have to know anything more about it, because it's great to see the raw emotion behind this. Because I know just from these comments, he has some very loyal followers that I think some of them are pretty sensitive. So that's kind of what I'm noticing. The earth is not a ball, with B-A-A-L, as in the god of Baal. That's a biblical thing there. Let's see. I saw this. I really enjoyed it. Yep. Poor Owen. I think we all went through a similar process. That's true. Just the cool thing is he recorded it. I kind of wish I would have done the same thing. He's a flat earther and doesn't know it yet. Well, I think to me the important thing is just to question what we've been taught, and to question these things. I don't like the title flat earther at all. We are taught growing up that, that Chris Columbus thought the earth was flat. What an idiot. And then he came over here. He was looking for India, and he actually, whatever. We've all heard that story before. And so we grow up with this. You're taught from government schools that, this guy, Chris Columbus, was an idiot. He thought the earth was flat, and there was dragons and this and that. And so we grow up thinking that words flat earth are stupid and idiotic. And so what you see in these comments, and what I've had for years now, it's like a trigger word, like the snowflake term, the trigger word, or are you triggered? Well, the two words flat earth tend to trigger people, and because you're basically, their understanding is, oh, he's just an idiot. Who would actually believe that? What an idiot. It's like, do you guys actually think any comment that you have is not something that I've personally thought, or that pretty much everybody thinks at some point or another? Owen is the best. You just got yourself a new sub. Stay flat. I spent about 2 months in a daze when I accepted the possibility of a flat earth. It took another few months to become comfortable with this new paradigm. I watched Owen's vid a few days ago and, like you, enjoyed the man's honest queries. Automaton, who said that. And yeah, it's an interesting process. It's a hard pill to swallow because you have to be willing to question and you have to be willing to be wrong. You know, a lot of us are, especially men, especially guys, you know, we like to prove we're right, and I'm going to, you know, just that stubbornness of being right. And I think it's so important to not, I don't come at things of a point of being right or being wrong. I come at things of a point of just speaking the truth and wanting to know the truth. I don't know everything. I know there's things that I believe I have right that I'm wrong on. I know there's things there, but I'm willing to, you know, seek things out and to look and to be vulnerable and to admit when I'm wrong, and not have to prove anything. Just want to speak the truth. So in my book, there are over 150 images. It took almost 2 years to put it all together. And okay, so towards the end of the book, this is on page 242. Apologize for you guys listening to this, but I'll try to explain what's going on. 242, the conclusion. So this is after showing, you know, 101 examples from the Bible of how the Bible describes Earth consistently spanning 1,500 years. How does it describe Earth? And so towards the end of it, here's the conclusions. Well, how does what we've learned, you know, in the first, you know, 200-something pages, how does that tie into today? And how does that affect our lives today? Well, so that's what I cover in the conclusion. So there's the course of the sun, the time zones, course of the sun, seasons, the north and the south, the east and the west, navigation, the icy boundary, the cycles of the earth, the future of earth, and who made it all. So here's the first one, the course of the sun and time zones. And it's just a face that is divvied up into 24 segments, and there's your time zones. And as the sun goes over the top of it, and this is just not to scale, this is just a very basic understanding. It's important to understand this is not to scale. I don't think it's possible to do it to scale. We don't know so many things. But as far as the basics, here is the basics of how it works. There's the image, the icy boundary. The Bible, in many places, talks about there being a boundary around the waters. We're told this icy boundary is Antarctica. And so if you guys look into the Antarctic Treaty, which I talk about in the book also, actually you'll get to that part, is we cannot willy-nilly go anywhere in Antarctica. There's a couple great videos about Antarctica being off limits. And if you just kind of look at the surface, you go, oh yeah, whatever. You can go explore this or that. If you look at all the criteria, no, you cannot. The icy boundary is not accessible. You cannot be Joe Blow and go wherever you feel like on whatever expedition you want. You cannot do it. It is impossible. Why is that? Why? Because of what you would find sooner or later. All right, let's get into the seasons. And so with the seasons, we have the summer, fall, spring, winter. So summertime, the sun is more towards the center. And we're talking in the what we've come to know as the northern hemisphere. And if you go towards the what we have known as the southern hemisphere, then that would make it winter towards the center. So the sun is going inward or going outward in that above the plane of the earth. All right, we have the north and we have the south, what is referred to as the north and the south, and the equator is the dividing line between the two solstices, between the Tropic of Cancer, between the Tropic of Capricorn. If you look up the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn, look that up in the, just Google that term and read what it says. It's really interesting. It says the furthest that south that the sun is overhead at noon. Overhead at noon. So there's the north, the south, the east, the west. This one's good. You know, people think that, well, how does navigation work? It works the same, just like this, because towards the center, if you're going west, you know, north is on your right. If you're going east, north is on your left. It works the exact same way as it always have, because this is how it is. So there's that. You have the magnetic north, which, north is attracted to the south, so that's why that says NS right there for north and south. North is towards the center. There does not have to be a south pole, a magnetic south pole, because no matter where you are in this icy boundary, north is going to point north. And all they would have to do also to fake, like, let's say if at wherever they decide their south pole is, where they have that little pole and you can trek there, and you can go to this location that they have allowed people to go to for a long time. Literally all they'd have to do to even fake the magnetism is go buy a whole bunch of neodymium magnets, put them, drill them onto a piece of plywood, put it about a couple feet below the surface, and there you go. It would that could easily fake the magnetism of a certain spot. So that's easily fakeable with a handful of thousands of dollars. So that's that even if they had that wouldn't prove anything. But no matter where you are, it's going to point towards the center, just like so. The icy boundary. So here's a section about the icy boundary, aka Antarctica. And then a series of strange events. Early on, this is what really did it for me, to let me know there is something to all of this. A series of strange events. We got Operation Paperclip, where, the United States acquires many Nazi scientists. Many of them are rocket scientists. Arguably the most famous is Wernher von Braun. Everybody's heard of him. For interesting fun, check out Wernher von Braun's gravestone and compare it to pages 32 to 33, because he has Psalm 19:1, which is, "The firmament declares the glory of God." And the firmament, for those of you guys that are new to this subject, the firmament is this dome that the Bible says is over the earth. So the UN flag is created, which is interesting. Operation High Jump, Admiral Byrd explores Antarctica. Operation Deep Freeze, Admiral Byrd explores further into Antarctica, aka the icy boundary. This was a teamed mission with the USSR and other countries. So the United States and Russia team up to go explore the icy boundary from 46 to 56. That was the two operations there. Sputnik. Okay, so after they come out from this frozen land, of the icy boundary, they immediately come in and start doing what? Shooting things into the sky. Okay? Sputnik is launched in 57. The USSR launches the first artificial satellite. This supposedly triggers the space race. So the US and the Russia, USSR, whatever, they team up, they fight the Nazis. After that, they acquire all this technology and Nazi scientists. Then they go exploring the icy boundary together. Okay, like arm in arm, exploring the icy boundary. Then they come back and they go, okay, we don't like each other. We're gonna start a space race against each other. So they both start launching stuff into the sky, like the Sputnik. And then the Van Allen radiation belt is found in 1958, this huge obstacle supposedly found over the Earth. It is a problem for anyone wanting to go that far or beyond. No kidding. There's a huge barrier for anyone wanting to go that high, known as the firmament. Right after that, from 58 to 62, is a high-altitude nuclear test. And so from 58 to 62, both the United States and Russia start shooting nuclear missiles straight up into the sky. So they explore the icy boundary. Okay? The icy boundary out here. After that, they come back and start shooting Sputnik, a tin can, and then they start shooting nukes straight into the sky. Now, how and why does that make sense? Does it make sense if you're on a spinning ball that they'd be shooting, nukes straight up into the sky? No, that would make no sense whatsoever. But if you understand that when they go out here on high jump and deep freeze, they find a firmament, they find a dome, they find out how far this is. Apparently it's a long ways if it took them 10 years to get there. They come back and go, okay, well, how high does this thing go? So let's start launching missiles up to try to find out. And then it gets even more interesting. NASA is founded in 58. Space is now government controlled. And so after that, in 59, the Antarctic Treaty is implemented, created and implemented from 59 to 61. This treaty set the stage for how the icy boundary would be treated. Like I said, you cannot willy-nilly go wherever you want. Governments cannot willy-nilly go wherever they want. It is extremely protected because of this Antarctic treaty. When have countries not fought and killed each other over more land? And yet there is supposedly this huge continent that is off limits. Ever wondered why Antarctica is off limits and nobody can have stakes in it and say, you know, this is our chunk, we're going to go develop this? You know, if you look at Admiral Byrd's, he has an old interview from a long time ago talking about all the resources in Antarctica. Tons and huge amounts of resources that countries can get wealthy on. Yet, nope, off limits. Can't go there. We got to save the penguins. So they're concerned about the wildlife, the penguins that are there, the very, very, very tiny amount of wildlife that is there. They're concerned about that, yet they can shoot up nuclear missiles and blow them up in the sky. And so people think this is some kind of tree-hugging, you know, animal thing. No, this is not about that. It's not about saving the little penguins. It's about keeping the people from understanding what they would find on the icy boundary, which is another topic I talk about in the book, the amount of rockets and stuff they would find laying out on the icy boundary. You know, people, they shoot all these rockets off. They go up, they go sideways, and they go out of sight. Where do you think they go? You think they go into space? No, they wind up on the icy boundary that we are not allowed to go to. And we're just, look at these cool images from Jupiter, that this thing we sent off 5 years ago. Look what they just sent back. Yeah, as the guy in Photoshop going, and these guys actually believe this crap. Think of all the billions of dollars worth of rockets and just some of the best achievements man has ever done that are just launched. They only have to last a handful of minutes, never to be seen again, laying on just a sheet of ice and snow, high altitude, and you are not allowed to go there. But yeah, this is in the book. I know this stuff sounds crazy. This stuff sounded crazy to me too. But once you get over this sounds crazy, it actually makes a ton of sense. So the cycles of the earth is next. The wind. The sun hurries back to where it rises. Precipitation. Sunrise perspective. Sunset perspective. All right. A god called the environment. Yeah, that's... I don't want to get too far off topic. The future of Earth. Where are we? How did we get here? What the world tells us, what God's word tells us. They could not be, as far as I'm concerned, what we're told from the world is the exact opposite of what the Bible tells us. There's no way you can get a spinning ball in space out of the Bible. You can't do it. It is impossible. There is nothing to support a globe in the Bible. Whether you are into the Bible or not, I'm telling you right now, there is no globe in the Bible. There is no spinning ball in space in the Bible. It is extremely consistent through and through, from beginning to end, from Genesis to Revelation, of how it describes our earth. God drew a circle on the face of the deep, a circle on a face. You know, don't get fearful about any of this kind of stuff. I think it's so liberating to really realize that what the Bible has said all along is true, and that this world is completely full of it. I think that's very, very refreshing. Very refreshing. I mean, extremely refreshing. Let's see. I endured the swearing due to the raw feelings as well. The awakening out of slumber is a shock to the mind. Now, what this person, Hope Seeker, is talking about is, in the video, I mentioned that, hey, he curses quite a bit in the video. The reason I mention that is because many of my viewers on these videos are people that watch my videos with their kids, and I don't have cussing on my videos. I just choose not to, just because there's a lot of families that watch this stuff, that watch my videos. So out of respect to them, I mentioned, hey, there's quite a bit of cursing in this video. And some of Owen's fans get all butthurt that I mentioned that. Like, why would you get... Did I say anything disrespectful about the guy? Did I say a single word of disrespect? I don't think so. I think I treated him extremely fair and said nothing bad about him, but I was giving a heads up about the cussing. So I don't see... Anyway, because you'll see there's people in the comments that get all butthurt thinking I'm saying something negative about him. Owen is the shizzy. All right. After 3 years of watching Flat Earth videos, I'm still not sure what the Earth is, but I know without a doubt it's not a ball spinning through space. For those of you guys that are new to this and you read comments like that, that's got to be the craziest thing. That people actually believe that. Because I remember thinking stuff like that too, but like, what? How could people years ago think the Earth was flat? Because my indoctrination was pretty well set in. His followers are getting mad at him for seeking truth. Honestly, I feel for him. He's questioning reality and being chastised for it. Yep. All he wants is evidence to back up his side of upcoming debate, and no one has any to give. So he's talking about the Eric Dubé debate. Now, I don't know Eric. I've never talked to Eric. I know who he is. I don't watch his videos. I like people that are very professional with stuff and don't get into name calling and treat people fairly, you know. So I hope that if this happens, that Eric will treat him fairly and not get into name calling. I mean, it's kind of silly when you get into labeling and whatever. I don't know. That's kind of my take anyway. Flat Earth, they hid more land. You know, certainly because the icy boundary is much larger than we're told Antarctica is. So they're certainly hiding that without a doubt. You find it interesting, too, that Antarctica is the largest, or the icy boundary, I like to call it, is the highest in elevation continent in the world. Has the highest average, is the coldest, is the windiest. Is that interesting? Don't you think that the north and the south would be very similar? But why is the outer boundary so much worse, so much more hostile? You know, and it's so high. It is literally, what, I think it's 7,000 something average elevation that we're told, going all the way around this world. And people go, wouldn't there have to be something holding the water in? Yeah, 7,000 foot high icy boundary around the waters. So yeah, you're right. I agree that NASA is a ripoff, but how can Flat Earth model explain lunar eclipses? So with the eclipses are really interesting. So we're told that the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, but that it is 400 times closer. And that's why when there is eclipses that that they line up perfectly with each other. Like when there's a solar eclipse. First of all, does that statistically, the odds of that strike you as amazing? And just that alone. I mean, isn't that, doesn't that show something like, something's up there? Like people that think that there's a big bang and you evolved from goo to monkeys to you to, you know, it's silly. It's beyond silly, you know, and then to see the solar eclipses and all that. But so the lunar eclipse, this is a fantastic subject, by the way. I talk about this some in the book. With the lunar eclipse, we have to understand that in the Bible, it talks about the sun, that God set two lights in the firmament, that there are two great lights in the firmament. The lesser light to rule the day, or excuse me, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. That's a quote from the Bible. Two lights, two great lights in the sky. One is the sun, one is the moon. Two lights. Not one reflecting the other. The Bible says more than one place that the moon is giving off light, that it gives its light. The moon gives its light. More than once. And so the moon, and then if you do the infrared thermometer test like I talked about last time, when you take a thermometer and go check things in the direct moonlight versus in the shadows, things are colder in the direct moonlight, especially on big full moon nights. When it's a big, bright, full moon night above you, it's drastic difference. You know, I've had it, like the most difference I've seen is 5 degrees. Like you'll take the temperature of something on the asphalt, say say just the open asphalt, and then in the shadow of your car real quick. And so after something's set for a while in the direct moonlight, it's colder. And I've heard of this before, where when things are near freezing, that you'll have in the moonlight, you'll have ice. And in the shadows, it won't be frozen yet. Isn't that interesting? Because the moon gives off a different kind of light than the sun does. If the moon was actually reflecting, it would be a warming light. You know, and if you take a telescope, look at the moon on a really bright night, it is blinding. And it is this bright, white, blinding light. And this thing in the sky lights up from edge to edge. We've never seen the back side of it. It gives off a cooling light. The moon is fascinating. And to think that we've been on it is just ludicrous. It's asinine. Silly. They had to fake that to answer those questions to us. It's asinine. But it is a fascinating subject. So as far as the lunar eclipse, if the moon is giving off light, ooh, that reminds me. Look up a channel called Crow 777. I think it's CRROW777. And look up the subject that he covers called the lunar wave, and talking about the moon having a refresh rate. And long story short, the moon is giving off light. And so as far as the lunar eclipse goes, we don't know what the moon is. The moon is not some rock in space. It is something completely different. So if it is some type of, think of this, because it's not like it's some LCD screen or, you know, a bunch of LEDs. That's not what I'm saying. But just imagine if the moon is like my monitor here or whatever. It can do whatever it wants. It can be a blood moon. It can be red. It can be whatever. And so if the moon is giving off light, and it is something like I said, look up the lunar wave, that subject of the lunar wave, and do more than just one simple search, because of course there's going to be people poo-pooing it. But actually go through the footage and watch the footage from, I suggest Crow 777. And so if the moon has a refresh rate that is predictable, giving off light and all this kind of stuff. So as far as a lunar eclipse, all it has to do is do whatever, you know, whatever God wants it to do, and have it be, okay, this time of the year or whatever, it's going to do this. And so, no, I absolutely do not believe the sun is projecting its, the shadow of the earth onto the moon. Not for a second. So there's that. Yes, I know this sounds crazy, but there are explanations for all of these. Awesome video. Subscribe. Keep at it, stay flat. And so, yes, if you guys notice this is pointing to a creator, a extremely intelligent creator, and something completely different than we've been taught, completely different than we've grown up. And so, yes, it's going to sound strange, but I'm at so much peace with all of this, because it reaffirms how full of crap the world is, that we have a creator, and it completely nullifies all this notion of, evolution and everything, and that there is meaning to life, that we have a creator, that Jesus came and everything was made through him and by him and for him. And anyway, what's the problem with cussing? We are adults here. Cursing is that's the problem. Like I said, Huckleberry Bear. Some of you guys are so sensitive. Huckleberry Bear. I like huckleberries too, by the way. From Montana, huckleberry jam is delicious. Yeah, that's the problem, is that I got a lot of kids, parents that watch this stuff with their kids. I've already explained this. I love it. Owen Benjamin is a comedian that plays piano on stage, also a great comedian. Okay, Chad, remember these globe glasses. Okay, here's a crazy thing. There's lots of comments here. I just want to get through some of the common ones. He's a famous comedian. Are you kidding me? Somebody irritated. I didn't know who he was. Owen is all about questioning everything, which is a healthy attitude to have these days, or any day. I agree. I think it's extremely important to question everything. Which reminds me of two things. In the back of my book, I leave a note for my kids, encouraging them to question everything. And actually, next month, if you look up QE2019.com, is the Question Everything Conference. In that conference, we're going to be I'm not covering the moon landing part, but this is going to be covering the subject of moon landings. Did we go to the moon? 9/11, vaccines, spiritual warfare, flat Earth. So I got the invite to speak about flat Earth. If you guys don't know who I am, I've spoke at the Flat Earth International Conference. I've spoke at Take on the World 2018 in Ohio. I like to talk about a lot of subjects, not just the Earth and, you know, the not being a ball in space. I like to question so much and talk about so many subjects. So on this, if you guys are new, I've talked about a lot of controversial subjects on this show, and I'm going to continue to do so. It's not just about flat Earth, but that's great. Owen is all about questioning everything. That's a great attitude to have. Okay, if the Earth is not spinning, then why do super long-range snipers have to factor in bullet drop, wind deflection, and Coriolis effect? Look at my reply here. My reply. Why do the U.S. Marines not teach the Coriolis effect in their sniper training? Why do tanks, artillery, etc. never take the curve or spin of the Earth into account? If you look into military stuff, it's like, oh yeah, you think 1,000 or 2,000 yard shot. 2,000 is extremely long. Say 1,500 yard shots. They got to factor in this curve of the Earth, spin of the Earth. You know, you can think, you know, what's that movie? Shooter. I think you can thank Shooter for that. Great movie, by the way. But how he talks about taking the curve of the Earth. Well, the Marines don't teach that. There is, if you look up on Mark Sargent's channel, he has a Navy missile instructor guy. They never take any curve of the Earth into account, and they paint. They have this is what the guy was saying. They have their laser out to, I forget, dozens of miles off the top of my head. I want to say it was 20-something nautical miles, which is further than regular miles. Painting the target dead on, not over some kind of curve. They can see the thing with a laser. They don't take any spin or curve of the Earth into account. Did you know that the land surveyors never take the curve of the Earth into account? Well, why is that important? Well, think of, let's just say all the chunks of land that they survey are little squares. Let's just pretend. If you took a big beach ball and you put a bunch of Cheez-Its on the beach ball, would they line up perfectly, or would there be spaces all over the place? Of course, they would not line up perfectly. Yet people can do land surveying for thousands of miles, never take the curve of the Earth into account, and yet they don't run into problems of this not lining up with that because of the curve of the Earth. Because there is no curve of the Earth. So bullets are affected, but blur hot air balloons. Dude, think bullets are, but airplanes or helicopters are not. Why is it so? Exactly. That's a great point, Ray Ray. My friend Ray Ray. That's funny. That's so true. It's like you can, an airplane can be in the air for 8 hours, 10, 12 hours. When was the last time a pilot ever said, oh man, sorry, we missed our destination by 3 miles because we forgot to take the curve of the Earth or the spin of the Earth into account? It's like, no, the pilots never take that into account. Never. You've never heard that before. And there's thousands of flights, every day? Has there been a single flight that missed their destination? No, they go, I know I go at this angle from this location for this many minutes, and I will land where I want to be. Because the Earth is not moving. It's not moving below us. Heliocentric. All eyes on Satan. All the world wonders after the beast. Yep. Heliocentric meaning helio, the sun. Centric meaning in the center. There's geocentric and there's heliocentric. There's probably other notions, but geocentric with the Earth being the center, or the sun, heliocentric being the sun at the center. I have zero faith in Eric's ability to present a good argument to Owen. Reason being he's known in live debates for flying off the handle and calling people shills and the like. Yeah, that goes into the name calling. I don't know Eric. I'll probably never talk to him. I don't know him whatsoever. Never talked to him before. I don't really care to. I like that people are willing to put their neck out and talk about these things. But I think it's important to have such a good attitude and treat people fairly and not name call. And if you notice this in my, and I don't know if I'll get to him or not, but in my last video, I had my Captain America mask on and my Captain America sweatshirt. And a lot of you guys are commenting, you're like, you're giving this guy crap because I talk about these guys wearing Batman shirts. And kind of in a nice way, poking fun at him, right? That's the joke. The joke is that I'm talking about these guys while I'm dressed up in something even more goofy. That was a total joke. Anyway, but that's the thing, is like I was kind of making fun, like lightly, but I was also making fun of myself. Oh yeah, right here. If you want people to take you seriously, don't wear Batman shirts. He said, wearing a Captain America shirt and mask. Good, somebody got it, but there's a lot of other people that didn't get it. Anyway, you know the Naked Gun franchise, those movies? That's some of my favorite kind of comedy. It's just stupid. I love that kind of comedy. Should have shown the entire clip. It's great watching him spiral as he realizes more and more that it is impossible to prove the globe. Let's see. The first month or so, you realize it's almost definitely a flat Earth is a trip. Definitely. Anyway, yeah, it is a trip. You should maybe do some research on the man before you make a video and put his name in the headline. Yeah, I've already covered that. I don't care who he was. Doesn't matter. I would have obviously make a video about it because it was just a great reaction. It was great to see somebody being honest. Subscribed. Your voice is calming me down and I feel great. Edit the Big Bear all you want. I don't think I did. Had to stop there. Moonlight is not cooling. Fact. Just because a few people aimed IR thermometers at the ground and showed it to be cooler than moonlight isn't evidence. Because a few people? Hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people have talked about this. Because you know what? If they did the exact same test 2 weeks later, then when there is no moonlight, they'd get the exact same results. How do you know that? Did you do that test? I'll bet you anything you didn't. Meaning it is not the moon causing one area to be cooler. It's something else. Dun, dun, dun. How about you go spend $30 and do it yourself and then come back. He playing the game. I don't know what you mean, Dartman. The simple fact that the edge of the Earth is not verifiable completely disproves any chance Earth is flat. It's called the icy boundary that you know of as Antarctica. If we lived on a flat Earth, there would be an edge going around us for thousands of miles. You're correct. That anybody could easily go to. Not true. You cannot easily go there. You will be prevented from continuing on the icy boundary. That anybody could easily go to. Not true. And document with pictures and videos, yet not one person has ever seen it because it doesn't exist. Dun, dun, dun. Okay. Let me show you that it does exist. Antarctica wall. Dun, dun, dun. So, let's look at these images of Antarctica. Dun, dun, dun. So you can see that there is. Look at this. This image is just amazing. Here, let's see. Let me get it full monitor. Look at this. This is hundreds of foot tall wall. Anyway, you know, yeah, there it is right there. So, can you tell me from this that this is a continent or an icy boundary? You can't tell either one from these pictures. So, yes, people have actually gone out away from the north and come to a wall of ice like this, of rock, that is also the tallest continent on Earth. So, the reason that you see it as a continent is because you were told that from government-run schools since you were born. And you see that on TV. You see it on like that Happy Feet movie where it starts out with, first of all, in the very beginning of the Happy Feet movie, Happy Feet, the penguin show for kids, it starts out with a ball flying through space. They're zooming in past all these planets which don't exist and zoom in to the bottom of this Earth that shows Antarctica and zoom in and you see all these happy penguins. So in that very beginning shot for kids, they cover space, they cover planets, they cover the moon, they cover the Earth being a planet, and they cover Antarctica being at the bottom of this planet. And there's nice penguins there. So for kids, they see all these fun things, and then all these nice penguins. And so you get this feeling of positivity. You get this positivity. Is that a word? I think so. Anyway, these kids feel great, right? After they've been shown this indoctrination, after they've been shown these things. Believe these things. Oh, smile, happy. That's the world we live in, is full of crap. Full of, especially kids. It's all targeted towards kids. Once you're taught things as kids, you're going to cling on to it. Just like anybody getting butt hurt now, it's because you've seen this stuff since you were kids. Let's question these beliefs. Let's question these foundational beliefs. Let's see. He playing the game. Okay. How disrespectful is it to just vape right into the mic? And you didn't tell that guy to stop either. What's going on, big guy? Not very professional. What Ezra here is referring to, that's funny. Ezra Goldfinkel-Steinberg. That's funny. Is when I interviewed Tony after I talked about these other subjects, is he was making, I didn't know what the heck he was doing. He made the sound, what, a few times? I did not know. I was like, what is that sound? And at first, okay, so he's probably new to being interviewed. When I was new to being interviewed, I didn't realize that you could hear me breathing or doing things in the mic. I didn't realize that my chair back then made a lot of noise. And so if you listen back towards some of my earlier interviews, you can hear things like that. And how do you go about it? Do you make a bigger deal when you say, hey, dude, can you stop doing that? Does that emphasize the problem where people didn't notice it before or not? In hindsight, what I would have done is I probably would have texted him and said, hey, don't make that sound, whatever that was, because I didn't know what he was doing. Vaping, I guess that would make sense. I didn't know what I don't do drugs. I don't smoke anything. I didn't know what the heck he was doing. So, not that vaping is doing drugs, but I don't smoke. I don't vape. I don't do any of that. So, apparently you do, and you probably know the sound. Excuse me. And you didn't tell the guy to stop either. So, yeah, in hindsight, I would have texted him. In hindsight. Not very professional. I agree. I'm not arguing with you. I agree. I'm not defending him or me or whatever. In hindsight, I would have done that different. And you're right, not very professional. I want this, my show to be as professional as possible. I put a lot into this. And so I will absolutely take that into account. And the next person that does something funky more than once, I'll text them or something during the interview and let them know. So thank you for letting me know. Slurping is for Asians. Rude in America unless you're tasting. Oh, that must be what this person's referring to as well. That must be exactly what he's referring to. Slurping. Maybe he was slurping on something. Or maybe he's referring to how I was drinking my coffee. I don't know who this guy is. Truthers are not supposed to be liars, Chad. That's funny. So, let me read you my response to that. I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here. Yeah, whatever. You can read my response if you want. Whether it is flat, square, or round. What's the difference? What difference does it make? I get that. If there's one thing I've gotten, if I had $1 for it, I've been doing this a long time, okay? Compared to most people, I guess. What difference does it make is probably one of the biggest comments that I've gotten. And it's like, you're telling me the one thing that you cling to that you don't question, if that is not true, what difference does it make? Really? I think you're full of crap. I don't think you actually believe that. I think when people say, what difference does it make? What they're actually saying is, this makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. Where's the football game? That's what they're telling you, is they want to avoid the subject and just go away. It doesn't make any... And then this person goes on to say... what difference does it make if we are all dead because people are arguing over this instead of how Agenda 21 plans on murdering 95% of the people in the next 15 years? Maybe this time could be spent warning people to stop taking vaccines, drinking fluoride, eating Roundup, etc. I agree with what this person is saying, that we need to be talking about all these horrible, horrible things. But there is something under the surface that is even bigger. Because if people understood just how much we've been lied to, they would question all of this kind of stuff. Okay, if people would wake up and go, holy crap, you mean this earth is not moving and I've been lied to massively, extremely since before I could walk or talk? Maybe they're full of crap in other areas, because this opens the floodgates. This absolutely opens the floodgates, and it shows how our leaders are deceiving us and hiding things from us and literally hiding our creator from us. Okay, I should say hiding. Well, you pretty much say hiding the creator. I think that's a pretty, especially evidence, especially, because walking up and knocking on the firmament and seeing how that completely goes right up to backing up the Bible, that's, you could say, hiding your creator from you. Or a Captain America costume. It's not Halloween yet, Scooter. How old are you? 5? That's part of the joke. It was part of a joke. Yeah, it's not like I wear Captain America outfits all the time. Is that mask around here? No. Don't get your panties in a wad, citizens of Flatardia. Owen knows the earth isn't flat and he's merely doing a mental exercise. Yeah, he's a good actor then. From the video, I don't think he believes it's flat, but I believe he's willing to question. I'm not sure I trust him. I don't know what he's talking about. Dude, you're a crazy person. I know. This sounds crazy. This sounds absolutely crazy. At first. After you get over the this is crazy, it all makes sense. What's with the mask? Edit. No. Holly Molly. I know you meant to say holy moly, but it's one L in each word. So Holly Molly, another stupid flattard. You got to find it funny. I see this a lot where people will call you stupid, but the sentence they use to do it in, they have misspellings like you're dumb too, and it's like T-O. It's like, no, there's 2 O's in that two that you're trying to say. So Holly Molly, another stupid flattard. Do you see the irony here? It's funny. It makes me laugh. No, moonlight is not colder, even though I've never tested it. The moon does not emit its own... Okay, he didn't say that. The moon does not emit its own light. Yeah, it does. It is not the Earth's shadow that causes moon phases either. Well, of course it's not the Earth's shadow that causes the phases of the moon. Did I ever say that? No. The moon giving off its own... It's like if the moon could do its own phases giving off its own light, it can do a eclipse, right? It's just going through the phases just faster, isn't it? I was on the live stream and Owen had his little spiral. It was a wonderful freeing thing to watch. Okay, I'm done with comments. So, let's just not get into name calling. I really don't care what people say about me or whatever, but just this person's a shill or that, it doesn't accomplish anything. Let's bring some substance. Like if you're gonna do stuff, and a lot of people in here did. Let's have substance. And name calling is just unproductive. Says the guy that puts on a Captain America mask. Maybe in my head that was a funnier joke. I thought it'd be funny to put on that outfit and talk, joke about people that wear Batman shirts. You see the irony? Maybe. I thought it was funny. Ending this off, because I need to end this. Got other things to do after episode 12. It is the
Funny Dad Joke time!
It's a dad joke. All right. How many South Americans does it take to screw in a light bulb? A Brazilian. Cheers. Coffee with Jack. All right. And with that, thank you for tuning in to Coffee with Chad, episode 12. We'll see you guys on Friday morning. Have a good one.